Earlier today, council met in closed session and rules from this meeting, this portion of the meeting at 5:06 p.m. So I'm now calling the regular session back into order. During the closed session, council received an update regarding a potential property acquisition in Ward 1, as well as a potential property disposition in Ward 2, and provided direction to staff. So now we can move to additions to the agenda. I didn't see any, so we can move now to disclosures of pecuniary interest. Councillor Shipley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. An pecuniary interest in 8.3 and the paperwork.
Thank you. I see no other hands, so we can now move on to delegations, presentations, and petitions. There are no delegations, presentations, or petitions of note for March 20th, 2024. The delegations relating to planning items are heard during the public meetings part of the meetings, so that would subsequent to a number of other things. So now we can move to the adoption of the minutes. The motion before us is that the minutes of Middlesex Centre Council meeting held on March 6, 2024 be adopted as printed. Is there a mover, please? A seconder. Councillor Burrows, Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? Thank you. That is carried. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have 4 items here. These are usually received as one motion. Council members may request that one or more is removed for further action. I'm looking for any questions, comments. Councillor Burrows.
Question on 6.4, the Arville Dam. Through you, Madam Mayor, I guess, is it you, Andrew, that's going to talk to this? Lucky you. Is this the only dam we own? Okay, that's it. That's my question.
Sweet. Councillor Arts.
Through Madam Mayor to Andrew, this is more of a maybe an observation than a question. That 1200 millimeter pipe, that's steel, and it's not getting in very good shape, and it's very deep. So if we ever have to dig it up, it's going to be bad. And there's a subdivision behind there that can't even get out. So if you can put a sleeve in there, if you can put it in tomorrow, because once that pipe gets out of line, you can't sleeve it. So I was just putting my support behind you to fix it as soon as you could. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, the motion before us is that consent items 6.1 listed on through 6.4 listed on March 20th, 2024 agenda be adopted as recommended. Do I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Councillor Heffernan, Councillor Shipley, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, staff reports are next. The first item up is the strategic plan progress report for year 3, and Michael DeLulo, Administrative Officer, will provide an overview of this report. Worships.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the chair, the members of council, very pleased to report to you on the status update of the strategic plan. As you're aware, the strategic plan is the main principal guiding document on behalf of the municipality. We have many master plans, as you heard earlier today from our consultant with respect to DC presentation that you heard. We're halfway through the plan, as you're aware. With council being in the forefront of the council term, we did do a refresh and a review, confirming the mission and the values that are part of this strategic plan that we did with respect to respect and cooperation, innovation, and integrity. The information is posted online. And what's new for 2023 is that we've transitioned a little bit to putting more KPIs. And what I mean by that is just measurables in all the accomplishments. And we did a lot of stuff in 2023, and I'm very proud of the team, not just council and staff, but the Middlesex community. As you can see on the information on the appendice to the report, a lot of achievements that were done, and they're spread across the 5 priorities that we've established. And as you can see with the report appendice, the implementation status showcases that we're treading above par as we're halfway through the report, because we've also outlined and gone through each priority, and we've put an indicator status so that when this is put on our website, anyone can visit the site and look at where we're standing. So I want to thank Heather for working with her and putting this information together, because I think we've really set the benchmark for other communities and other municipalities around us to look at this, because we're really doing quite well. So just very something to be proud of. We've put a lot of activity reports before council throughout the year from any member of staff that's here. And this is just a culmination of that. So just very proud to see this report happen. And we'll just keep ticking away and making sure that the rest of those initiatives get those green check marks. But happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that report and presentation. I'll start with you, Councillor Case.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to Michael and staff and everybody. I just wanted to say it's a great report summary and hats off to everybody and all the great accomplishments. It's a great summary. I think everybody needs to read it.
Just a quick question. How often do you report?
Yeah, through the chair to councillors, it's an annual update. Correct.
I don't see any more hands, so I just want to comment the same thing. This is really easy to read. I think anyone who goes in there will be able to see what's in process and what's been done, and all the detail is there. So this is a continuous improvement project. I think every time we get this report, the quality and the content is improved. So thanks to staff and everyone who worked on it. Okay, we do have a motion before us that the report CAO's number 7, 2024 regarding strategic plan progress report for year 3 be received for information. Could I have a mover, please, and second? Councillor Heffernan, Councillor Cates, thank you, all in favor. And that is carried. 7.2 is an application for consent, and I will look to Dan Fitzgerald, County Planner, to provide an overview of the staff report. The floor is yours, Dan, when you're ready.
Through the chair, thanks, Madam Mayor, members of council. So this application for consent was previously heard by council. It is located at 116 Delaware Street Central. In this case, the applicant is requesting, was requested and granted provisional consent, which was sought to establish 2 new residential lots while retaining one existing. Conditions for the original consent application were consolidated together as one, given that typically these types of lots, when created, are created at the same time. However, in this particular instance, the existing home does straddle the proposed property line for one of the new lots, meaning that the house would need to be removed prior to finalizing all consent conditions and establishing a new lot. The applicant in this case wishes to live in the existing dwelling while they construct a new home on one of the new parcels. Given that, they would then remove the existing dwelling to finish the consent on the separate parcel. In order to sever off one, staff have separated the conditions into 2 separate decisions. So there'll be 2 notice of decisions that come out. This will allow them to proceed with clearing one of the consents, building a new dwelling, and then removing the existing dwelling to complete the second consent separately. No other aspects of the application have changed. Really, at this point, it's just mechanics as to how it's going to operate. So given the above, I am recommending approval of the revised consent, subject to all the conditions that are defined in the planning report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. I'll look to councillors for questions, comments. Councillor Ernst.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Dan. Sometimes my iPad doesn't get the updates quick enough, but I think in there's a few references to Queen Street, and I think it's supposed to be Delaware Street.
Through the chair, yeah, no, you're referenced Street Central in this case.
Anyone else? I don't see any hands. It's quite a lengthy motion here before us. I know that there are 18 conditions noted in the report with respect to B03 and 17 with respect to B04. And that the reasons for granting the consent application include that it is consistent with the provincial policy statement, it conforms to the County of Middlesex official plan and the Middlesex Centre official plan, and subject to the conditions the proposal complies with the Middlesex Centre comprehensive zoning bylaw. Is there a mover for this motion? Councillor Cates and Councillor Heffernan, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Okay, that's it. We need now to move into the committee of adjustment. The motion before us is that council adjourn the regular meeting at 5:39 p.m. in order to sit as a committee of adjustment under section 45 of the Planning Act as amended to consider the minor variance applications listed on the March 20th, 2024 council agenda. So I'm just going to run through some order of proceedings and information for the benefit of everyone. Members of the public that wish to receive further notification on any minor variance applications being considered today, I ask that you please send an email to planning@middlesexcenter.ca requesting further notification. Please be advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record. If you have questions on any of the applications that are being heard today, we ask that you direct those to the appropriate planner on file. Members of the public that have requested to speak will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address council and provide their comments on the applications. In keeping with our procedural bylaw and our zone policy, I would remind all of our meeting participants to use respectful language and uphold our values of cooperation, trust, and openness. So there is an order of proceedings, and it's the same for each of the applications that we'll be hearing tonight, and the order is as follows. So the chair, that's myself, will ask the planner to explain the purpose of the application and hearing and to present the staff report. Then the applicant or their agent has the opportunity to speak to the application. And then the public who have registered to speak or who are in attendance will be asked for their comments. Please remember to state your name so that it can be noted for the meeting minutes. The municipal clerk or planner will note additional comments that have been received from circulated agencies and the public not included in the planning report. And then we'll look to the committee to ask questions of the applicant or staff. And then the chair, that is myself, will consider motions with respect to the applications that we're hearing. So the first item up tonight is the minor variance application for 103 Wellington Street. And Dan Fitzgerald, the county planner, is going to provide an overview of that staff report. The floor is yours, Dan, when you're ready.
So through the chair, thanks committee for hearing these applications tonight, just for everyone's benefits. I know we have a few people from the public here today, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Dan Fitzgerald. I'm a planner with Middlesex County. I'll provide professional planning services to Middlesex County here tonight. So with respect to 8.1 minor variance application A for 2024 from 103 Wellington Street, the purpose and effect of this particular application is to reduce the number of required parking stalls to 49, whereas the existing bylaw requirements would require 57 stalls. The effect would be to permit the placement of 3 additional modular classrooms on site on a temporary basis. So in this particular case, the lot is located on the north side of Wellington Street, east of the intersection of Victoria and Wellington in Denver. More commonly, the site houses our school. Due to the enrollment pressures, the applicant is seeking to add 3 additional temporary portable classroom units over the next 2-year period. This would bring the total number of variables to 12 on site, which would be the maximum number, whereas 9 currently exist. The bylaw does require a minimum of 3 stalls for a school, plus 2 stalls per classroom. Given the current number of classrooms and the proposed temporary units, that would bring the total parking requirements to 57 stalls. However, the school only currently maintains, again, those 49 stalls as previously referenced. So as such, the applicant is seeking the variance to reduce that particular parking requirement. I have reviewed the request against the floor tests of the Variance and Planning Act. Generally speaking, the location of the school, limited development across the street, does reduce the potential for traffic volume conflicts in the area. There will also be inevitable conflict during busy pickup and drop-off periods. That's common in every school. We see it everywhere. It will be up to the school to manage the parking situation on site, and if managed appropriately, planning does not see a potential conflict or impact, which is considered unreasonable. So given the above, I'm recommending approval of minor variance A4/2024. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Now, okay, so we have Gerald Deagle, I think is, yes, thank you, is in attendance on behalf of the applicant to comment on the application. Can you hear us? Okay, there. Okay.
Oh. Good afternoon.
The floor is yours when you're ready. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. Yes, we are applying for the application for the minor variance due to the increased enrollment at the school there. And we understand that it does require the minor variance for the parking. We do know that temporary accommodation and the growth within the community continues to grow. However, we do know that this will maximize that site. We are working on plans currently within our board with the Ministry of Education to seek alternate opportunities within the community. And we have applied for a new school within the area. So this temporary accommodation will help benefit for the next couple of years until those planning initiatives go forward and we receive or hear from the ministry on our application for a new school in the area. So that really is the comments that I have from the board today. And I appreciate the opportunity to review this minor variance so we can have our children accommodated within the school.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any members of the public in attendance that would like to speak to this file? Seeing none, no one online? Okay, so I will look to members of the committee. Councillor Bruce.
Just a comment as I'm a ward counselor. We're topped out at 12. This is it for the portables, right, Dan? 12 is topped out. This school is extremely tight for parking, as you know. I mean, it's tighter than almost any other place. They're parking everywhere across the street. So that's my only comment, that there's no answer to it, but
I'm just going to jump in. We did have a member of the public who's joined, and you might want to hear the comments too. So, Sandra, are you there? She didn't give up. Oh, okay, we can see her. Good evening, Sandra. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, the floor is yours if you'd like to make your comments.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Sandra Condon. I'm here on behalf of Strict Baldinelli Monez, representing the school board and this application. We thank Dan for his supportive comments. And yes, the school will be at capacity with the addition of these portables, but as Dan said, for now, the portables are a temporary solution, and there are things in the works to resolve the situation. We request that you support the application and allow for the maximum of 12 portables with the fixed parking count of 49 as the site can currently accommodate.
Okay, thank you for joining us and providing that clarification. I'll go to Councillor Cates, who has a question.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to Dan. I think that you've already answered this now, but it's not current existing parking spaces that are going to be lessened. It's the requirement for each new portable that you are lessening the requirement.
Yeah, so through the chair, Councillor Case, that's correct. So the existing parking on site is not being changed. It's that they're not requiring to add additional stalls to place these new 3 portables on site. So the actual physical parking lot is not going to change at all. It's just that they don't have the space to accommodate the additional parking required as indicated in the bylaw.
Thank you.
So anyone else? I don't see any hands. We have a motion before us. That minor variance application A4 2024 filed by Ben Highland for Strict Baldinelli Limited on behalf of the London District Catholic School Board for relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit a reduced minimum parking requirement of 49 stalls for the institutional use for the property of the school, as described in the reference plan in the municipality of Middlesex Centre, County of Middlesex, and is municipally known as 103 Wellington Street, be granted. And that the reasons for granting the minor variance application A3 2024 is that the request complies with the general intent and purpose of Middlesex Centre's official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature, and the request represents appropriate development on the subject property. A mover, please, to Councillor Bruce, a seconder, Councillor Shipley, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. And on to A5 2024 Gainsborough Road. The floor is yours, Stan, when you're ready.
Yeah, through your chair to members of the committee. So application A 5/2024, 8.2 on the agenda is a minor variance where the purpose and effect of the application is to seek permission to interpret the existing uses where defined generally under section 45(2) sub B of the Planning Act to include motor vehicle service establishment as a permitted use based on the existing permitting use of farm equipment sales and service. The effect would be to permit a vehicle undercoating service known as crown rust protection from one of the existing structures on site. So the subject property is located on the south side of Gainsborough Road. It's east of the intersection of Vanek and Gainsborough. It's municipally addressed 1830 Gainsborough. The subject lands are zoned a site-specific farm industrial exception zone, that being the M32, in the Middlesex Center Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw. And they are designated an agricultural according to both the Middlesex Center official plan as well as the County of Middlesex official plan. The current site-specific zone permits a number of farm industrial activities, including but not limited to farm equipment sales and service as noted. The applicant in this particular case is applying to extend that interpretation of the definition, which would include motor vehicle services in the format of a rust protection coating service. So the application was circulated in accordance with the act requirements. No list of concerns were received from internal departments or external agencies. Planning did receive a number of comments from the surrounding community. They have been provided to council in advance of, committee in advance of the meeting tonight, and we're formally part of the public record here today. So comments, if I could suffice them, generally are related to concerns of environmental leaching from the product, unsafe access to the site and traffic generation. Again, products seeping into natural water systems, potential for inadequate sanitary services on site, concerns related to slippery substances tracking onto the roadways, and generally the conflict between the use and the existing residential lands in close proximity to the site. So planning has reviewed the proposal against the Planning Act test for a minor variance, and when reviewing, I did pay particular attention to the impact of the proposed use versus the existing permitted use of the property. Planning did find that the use would already be permitted should it be limited to farm vehicles. Given the use could service the farm community, the extension of the definition, whether or not it would be appropriate to extend the definition to include motor vehicles, was considered. So from an impact perspective, it's generally Planning's opinion that the items of concern listed could generally be satisfied through a more detailed review through site plan control, which would mitigate any potential impacts. So it's generally the engineering review of how the site operates safely. So to that end, Planning has recommended the inclusion of two conditions, and those being number one, that the motor vehicle service establishment use shall only permit servicing of vehicles on site specific to undercoating, and that no other vehicle servicing shall be permitted. And that the owner enter into a site plan agreement for the intensification of the use of the property. With the inclusion of the conditions, planning staff is satisfied that general proposal would meet the intent of the Planning Act and recommends approval, subject to the conditions as outlined above. So thank you, and I'm certainly available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for that report. William Paul is the applicant and is in attendance to comment on the application.
Thank you, Mayor, Madam Chair, and members of council.
My name is William Paul. I'm the agent for Shane Johnson, who is the owner operator of Crown Body Maintenance in London. First of all, thank you to staff and for their assistance in bringing this forward in a timely manner. It's really important for my client to relocate his shop and move to this location. With respect to the recommendation, we support the recommendation of staff that the variance be granted and that it be subject to the limitation with respect to undercoating motor vehicles and that there's no other option for sales or display of motor vehicles. That's certainly not our intent. We agree that it complies with the Middlesex Center official plan, agriculture. So undercoating for farm equipment is a permitted use in agricultural designation. Likewise, it complies with the comprehensive zoning bylaw. This site has a list of industrial uses. Hopefully we'll bring it up in a few minutes. And this is consistent with what's being permitted on this site today. The addition of motor vehicles is just a small change in interpretation. And in fact, it's very appropriate to the use. The reason we're here today is because in addition to the existing farm equipment services that Crown Body Maintenance provides today. So farm equipment come to the site in London, drive to the site, they're cleaned, they're undercoated, they'll go back out into the agricultural area. We're asking to recognize that in addition to that, there may be farm vehicles, so motor vehicles, both from the farm and surrounding community, should also be permitted on the site. Why should we move to an agricultural area? So firstly, it's safety. It's moving farm equipment from Middlesex Center to a location in the city of London. If we reduce the amount of traffic and travel time, we can improve safety on the roads. Secondly, it's convenience. Convenience for the farming community so that they don't have to travel as far to another location. And finally, it's actually sustainable. So there's less fuel used, less time used by the farmers to accommodate, to go to a site when they can go to a site in an agricultural area in Middlesex Center. With respect to the surrounding land uses, and I think this is an issue, this is not a residential area, this is an agricultural area. So there are agricultural uses on the north side of Gainsborough, to the west, to the south. And in fact, thank you very much. This is the PowerPoint presentation that I provided to staff and to council, and it will be more effective if I move to this. So you can see from the location plan provided in the report, the uses to the north, west, and south are agricultural. And in fact, the use immediately, to the east is actually industrial. The proposal is an adaptive reuse of an existing building. We're not building a new building. We're not adding significantly to the site. This is a vacant building, and it's an adaptive reuse of the site. It's 25 meters from the Gainsborough, 12 meters from the rear property line, 72 meters from the west, and to the nearest property line on the east, 46 meters. So it's centrally located in the middle of the site. This is a more detailed view, just zooming in on the exact site. The site already does vehicle maintenance, so the existing RV site does provide service, brakes, oil change to RV material, RV vehicles. And this is just a shift to doing body maintenance on motor vehicles. So in the middle, you can see back in June 2021, it was used for the production of wooden pallets, industrial use. And the intent by Shane Johnson is to convert the existing building to Crown Auto Body maintenance. Existing building is 40 feet wide, 120 feet deep. The improvements, we're going to add an entrance and location for customers to wait, an office, relocation of the garage entrance itself, and we're going to add a garage door to the rear. So the footprint of the building is not changing. I think this is an important item to reinforce with council. The existing zoning has these permitted uses: fuel depot, truck terminal, aqua, dog kennel, grain handling, livestock sales and marketing. This is an agricultural industrial use, and particularly I've highlighted farm equipment sales and service. So tomorrow we can clean, service all kinds of farm equipment, tractors, combines, manure spreaders, spray equipment. That can be done tomorrow. The addition of motor vehicles is not going to change that significantly. No change in impact, no change in the use of the site. We can do cleaning, repair, service, undercoating, body maintenance of farm equipment today. Just to reinforce that, this is an excerpt of a zoning map schedule, key map 82. I've highlighted the M3-2 zoning for the subject property. And again, to the north, south, east, and west, the zoning is agricultural. This is an agricultural community. I think it's important to recognize that comments from all the agencies and your own staff, Middlesex County Engineer, Development Review, Chief Building Official, Public Works, there's no objection, no comments. They're not raising any issues with the intent of this minor variance. We recognize that the change is sometimes raises questions in the community, and that's good. I think it's important that the public be aware of what happens and that they participate. I do want to respond to those comments that I've received to date. First of all, the material of the spray itself, it does not contaminate. It has a specific materials safety data sheet. The Crown Body Maintenance has a unique eco-friendly product that intentionally doesn't contaminate. There's existing businesses. There's active traffic to and from the site now. There's an existing commercial business. No one has identified the need for a left turn or traffic concerns. Again, the question of whether an undercoating business should be located here. The farm equipment service can be located here. This is consistent. I think the good question raised about water demand. This is not a high water usage location or facility. They're using less than 100 gallons a day to clean the equipment and to maintain the property. And that includes domestic use for inside the business and outside. The current location has this very low demand for water, so no expectation on changes of availability. They've had a positive track record in other rural locations in Ontario without well water contamination. And Crown Rust themselves require an air separator so that before the equipment goes outside, any residue is contained in the site, and that's emptied every 3 months. And it does not create residue on the road. So Crown Rust maintenance, or Crown Body Maintenance, can provide a wheel wash so that before going out onto the street, any residue from the vehicle can come off the wheels. There's been no impacts, complaints from existing locations, and this is a designated in the official plan and zoned for agricultural purposes. The one piece where we don't agree with staff is with respect to site plan approval. We're asking that council consider and remove that conditional request for site plan approval. Site plan approval really is where there's been a significant change in the use, size of buildings for use or size of building on the site. In my opinion, we're not increasing the buildings. There's no impacts that we can anticipate. There's no issues around parking. Certainly, there are operational standards that body maintenance will have to meet. And as far as I can see, there's no site planning issues that have been identified. So in conclusion, Madam Chair, Mayor, and members of council, we're asking you to adopt the staff recommendation. We thank them for their consideration of the application. We'd ask that you do not include the condition on entering into a site plan agreement. Complies with the agricultural policies of the official plan. Complies with the farm industrial zoning. It's minor in nature. We can already use it for farm equipment. And we think that the request is appropriate. Thank you very much for your time today. Myself and my client, Shane Johnson, are here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Madeline Wilson, member of the public who's in attendance virtually, to comment on the application.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. The floor is yours when you're ready.
Fabulous. So my name is Madeline Wilson, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My concern is environmental. Generally, on the Crown website, there's claims that the petroleum-based product is safe and non-toxic. However, it's not WHMIS controlled. So the safety data sheet, though, demonstrates that it is classified as dangerous. It's an extremely flammable aerosol, and it needs to be well ventilated. I'm concerned about the substance entering our environment. So on the safety data sheet, it does say keep out of drains, sewers, ditches, waterways, and minimize the use of water to prevent environmental contamination. So I don't think that there's the infrastructure here in this non-industrial area to ensure that the substance doesn't enter our valuable waterways. The ecotoxicity report also states that it may be dangerous to the environment because it hasn't been tested. So the product hasn't been tested for bioaccumulation or mobility in the soil. So this is concerning for neighbors as well as Middlesex Centre's agricultural values. So I do want council to be considering that with concerns to a Crown. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. The next group of people are the members of the public who are in attendance, virtually or in person, who wish to comment. I remind people that they should mention their name, please, and we will be watching the clock for the 5 minutes. We find also that it's usually best to stick to, if you agree with things, so I agree with these things, but we don't need to hear them 3 and 4 and 5 times. Make your new points so that all the new information you want to convey to us is on the record then. Okay, so I have come on up. And you take a seat and okay. You've got your 5 minutes.
Through the chair, I can jump in on that one. Comments received in advance of the meeting are distributed to all the committee members here, as well as members of staff in advance of the meeting. So any comments that have been distributed to us have been submitted to the members of the committee for their review. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the opportunity for letting me speak. I just kind of, this is kind of a very important possibility of a life-changing issue for me. So I'm gonna kind of dictate and go over some of the letter that I had submitted to council and the peers and the committee members. So this is dear Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councilors, Committee, Middlesex Center Planning members. My name is Mike Prince. I resided 1816 Gainsborough Road for 24 years. This property has been in my family for close to 75 years. At this moment, I am 37, which means I've spent a little more than half my life at this location. I live here with my wife, Catherine, 2 children, Holly, Emily, and family dog, Ruby. While I was growing up, I spent my time between here and my grandparents, with my grandparents and my parents' house at 2038. That is a little bit more than half a mile west. With that being said, I would consider myself as knowing the members of the community and the area fairly well. This location has always been an agricultural residential area where if you look outside, you'll see deer and wild turkey and pretty well every wildlife species native in the area. My oldest daughter at the age of 5 found and helped rehabilitate a great horned owl in this here. This area is my forever home. Just westward between my current residence and where my parents' house is located at 1830 is 1830. This is the location of Hyde Park Feed and Country Store. This has always been an agricultural use oriented and is what it is currently zoned for. I know this because when I was a child, one of my favorite things was to get home off the bus and run next door to go see the newborn chicks in the crates. At that time, it was known as Hyde Park Farm Supply. This was just one of the many memories I have, from rolling feed bags on carts and loading them into feed trucks, weighing grain and putting the scale stickers on the bags for resale and so on. After this period, at some point during my adolescent years, the former owner, Frank, requested the first variance for trailers. I know some neighbors didn't mind and others did. I think as a gesture of goodwill, it was agreed to, but with stipulations to keep it at the maximum size it currently is. It's now come to my attention that the landlord has recently purchased it at that location of 1830 and made a proposal to Middlesex Center for minor variance, put around with pest control in there. I am not in favor of this variance whatsoever. The following purposes of why, and some were listed earlier. The busy road was crowned in the busy season. They service many vehicles. I've seen them parked up and down the current location on Mallard Road at the High Park location. This will add extra volume on an already busy road. 1830 Gainsborough has a huge catch basin 275 yards behind it, directly south, where contaminated runoff with undercoating residue will be collected and deposited through a creek directly into the Thames River just east of where Frank Lane ends. The contamination of drinking water has drastically increased from underground product or from the undercoating product dripping off cars, both on the roadways through ditches, waterways, and also at 1830 Gainsborough, dripping off the vehicles and leaching through the soil. The proposed location also has a very small septic bed. It's approximately 12 feet from my lot line. This contaminated water from the wash chemical and residue will be deposited into a very small septic bed, approximately 20 by 30 feet. My well is shallow. It's 65 feet deep, and it has an easier chance to contaminate than a deep drilled well. They might have touched on that. The road degradation later, when it gets on the road, the undercoating residue will be dripping off the vehicles and end up in the roadway, causing road degradation. The undercoating residue is also classified as a lubricant as per the manufacturer. Stopping and accelerating the ability of a vehicle will drastically be lowered by this material being deposited on the roadway. The drip from the undercoating on the roadway will be an unpleasant sight and will make the area unattractive and will lose its appeal for living in a clean rural agricultural area. This product also has an odor. That product dripping off the vehicles onto the roadway will spread up and down Gainsborough and also 1830 location. It will spread its odor everywhere it is left and eventually drift onto my residence with a slight breeze. Brown washes every vehicle. With washing every vehicle, it will consume high volumes of water and will reduce my well is 65 feet deep and it's never run dry. The Crown has not done a long-term study on this project. It is inevitable that with this location in comparison to the proposed location, my family and myself will be in direct contact with touch, taste, smell, and sight of it constantly. In an email from Crown Corporate, the undercoating rust protection lubricant, a product called T12 or T40, sorry. A product called T40 is the old labeling of a new rust protection lubricant. It is essentially the same product. I supplied that paperwork to all of the council members and to the appropriate that James helped me out. Thank you very much. And it has a direct link to a safety data sheet that I've supplied also. And if, for instance, it says if not breathing, give artificial respiration to obtain medical assistance. Immediately flush the contaminated skin with soap and water. Immediately flush eyes with water for a maximum of 15 minutes for keeping your eyelids open. If swallowed, call the poison control center immediately. Symptoms may be delayed. We talked about keeping out of drains and waterways. May be dangerous for the environment. This material and its containers must be disposed of as hazardous waste. Avoid release to the environment. Spilled material and water rinses are classified as chemical waste. All of that's in the safety data sheets that were. The effects of having this next door person to my family will be horrible. Be like sitting outside and are often there for all 4 seasons. We would like to have a nice summer barbecue, or my young children have their friends over and not smell Crown undercoating constantly. We would also like to be outside to not hear a pump truck come around and suck out the waste materials on a regular basis. Walking inside every day, the constant smelling of it because the furnaces picked up the odor and distributed it throughout our house. Sitting on the front porch viewing nasty oil slick up and down the road and the lack of wildlife we enjoy. Filling up my coffee maker or bathtub, wondering if it's going to run dry. Wondering if what we are drinking or bathing in is going to harm us. Driving out of my laneway, hoping we don't get T-boned from not being able to accelerate on the road degradation. Getting run into from behind. Running from behind because another motorist couldn't stop in time. Coming or going on a motorcycle, wondering what I'm in for until I get to the crest of the hill.
Mr. Prince, if you'd like to wind up. There are a lot of people here tonight, so.
Okay, so.
Yeah, every speaker has 5 minutes. If you wanted it to go out with somebody to have it, that's a different process with the clerk.
Oh, okay, sorry. So
5 minutes and the rest.
So the current uses are far from industrial uses. Right now, it's a feed store. Has been used as a feed store for probably 2.5 decades. 25 years it's been a feed store. I've submitted all of that paperwork from the previous owners. It's all in there. They sell gifts, they sell bird feed, they sell that. Now, as for the RV trailers, the previous owner still runs the RV. He manages the RV area, and it's all on the maps that I've supplied here. Area 4 here, and so I do have a couple of other questions. I would actually wonder, what percentage does Crown actually do in agricultural work? They do have a portable. They do have a portable rust proofing wheelchair.
Sorry, Mike, but we are past our 5 minutes at this time, so we'll have to move to the next question. Thank you very much for the presentation.
The next speaker, I'd like to come up, please.
Hi, everybody. My name is Derek. I'm a member of the public. And I would just like to say that road degradation is truly a thing. I would like to invite you to Glasgow Street, where there's a Crown rust protection. And the road is totally slick with oil. And with Gainsborough being an 80-kilometer road with no turnoffs, it would be a serious traffic hazard.
I think even if it was limited to 60 kilometers an hour, it would still be very dangerous for drivers such as Mike and his family. I would truly not like to see Mike's health suffer from this product. That would be really sad to see. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. The next person. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Wilson, and my family lives very close to the proposed site for Crown. I would just like to agree with everyone's points, as well as talking a little bit about Gainsborough Road and the traffic. There have been events at the previous Hyde Park Feed and Country store before, and when it's busy there's a huge concern for the traffic and the safety of drivers on the road. When I was a kid, I was actually hired to help direct traffic out of the feed store because there were concerns for safety and people taking a left turn out of there because, of course, like many back roads, people speed and it's just really unsafe. And I hate to think of the safety being endangered of all my neighbors and my family as well. So thank you for letting me speak today, and thank you.
Thank you. Next person, no one? Yep, come on up.
Hi. My name is Ken Hurrell. And I didn't get a notice until the day before yesterday about this variance, which I thought it was the law to notify adjacent landlord. Now, when they put the trailers through, I never got a notice of that either. But I am an adjoining landlord. So I haven't had really a lot of time to look into this issue, but I've been in the development real estate business for 35 years. And to me, this is an industrial use. I don't know, I'm not a planner, I profess to know more than your planners, but this is an industrial use in an agricultural area. They're in an industrial area now. Why is that? So, and it should be a rezoning application, not a variance. I say that for 35 years doing this. Okay, this is not right for a variance. And I don't know where it's coming from, but it should be, they should have to do an environmental assessment. They're using bad stuff. So where is the environmental assessment? I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Is there people that are allowed to speak, or can anyone come up to speak?
Through the chair, just take a moment to explain the process around the notification process that comes into play when there's a minor variance. So under planning legislation in Ontario, all property owners within 60 meters of a subject application receive notice. We keep records when we send out the mailing list to individuals, including the individual who just spoke. So we're able to verify when notices were sent out and the members of the public receiving that notice. So I just thought I would comment on that process end of things, and that's how we do it. It's the same for every application. Thanks.
Yeah. It's a list.
My name is Zainab Haji. I live at 1681 Gainsborough Road with my family of 5 right now. I'm very impressed. I found out about this. I understand that there's a home on Gainsborough Road to get out of the city and to get out of the havoc of what's taking place city-wise. Reading all this and talking with Chris in great detail left us coming to this meeting and feeling for the neighbor, but we're also neighbors. We've built beautiful homes in that area. We understand it's agricultural. We cannot have something that emits all the toxicity that may be produced. And we're not asking as a community to have you be negative on the part of this small business. We're saying, let's have more studies. Let's assess what's going on in and around the community. Let's take advantage of time and the opportunity to see what can take place should this be hazardous. So we're asking for time for a review to be made with respect to what's going on. And there will be a lot of emotion because many people live in that area that have homes that are their forever homes. Many people in that area have been there for a very long time. So when we get told there's a meeting like this to assess and a decision is made today, how can there be a decision when there's a lot of factual information that's been presented that may cause detriment to the people in the area? And we talked to Upper Thames Valley, we talked to Jenna there, and she said, you know, our hands are tied because there's many different things that are taking place in the city, and there's a lot of change that's taking place. So how are we able to get a good representation of Upper Thames Valley Conservation Area when they're not able to speak on this, and they're the ones that would be doing a lot of these studies and assessing things? If there's change taking place in the city, then I ask you to take the time to wait till those changes take place and then have assessments be done in and around the area with respect to what is the actual contents of the business, the product that's used, how the environment is affected. We have kettle lakes on our property. We have bald eagles that are on our property and lots of wildlife. So if these contaminants are on the roads, we are directly affected as well. We live 1.5 kilometers away. We're not asking for small business not to put in the effort, be diligent with the decisions that you make regarding what's happening in and around the area. Sue, I've seen your eyes rolling, and I appreciate that maybe we're being worried about what you're saying, and you don't live right in the area of what's taking place. But we don't appreciate seeing that from you because we're seeing that we understand where you come from and where you need to sort of act on businesses. But all we're asking is, Dan, maybe take a look and see how many cars are coming into the area. How many small motor vehicles are coming into the area? How much traffic will there actually be with this type of business? Agricultural farm equipment is one thing. They drive slowly, they're efficient. They come and go, they're slow. I can tell you right now, I live on that street and cars are driving 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers, 140 kilometers on Gainesville Road. We are definitely not understanding as a community. All these members live on Gainesville Road. You've got us all out trying to help us understand how we can make a decision today, thank you, on something like this when there are so many other factors that need to be considered. So all we're asking is time. All we're asking is deferral for the situation. All we're asking is, please take into account what's taking place in all the homes that have been built in that area to be in the country, to be in the agricultural zone. We don't want hundreds of cars being out of business. I appreciate the time. Thank you for letting me speak. I speak on behalf of everyone that is concerned in our community.
Anyone else who would like to? Any other comments on the comp planning piece? Okay, so the next group of people who are able. Yep, you get your 5 minutes just like everyone else.
I need to.
Okay.
I'm Brad Armitage, and just one quick comment. I know the product's already been put on site, and maybe for the agricultural part, but almost looks like the ball's already rolling. Just wanted to see what was, you know, if, what do you call it? The part of it, the environmental studies is gonna happen before it actually gets approved. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. Yeah, site plan, yeah. Yeah, all right, that's all I wanted.
One more.
Well,
Okay.
hello, my name is Chris Bannon. I live at 1796 Gateway Road. It's not comfortable anyways. I don't, these were rare last couple of days. Getting a petition put together. And the person I talked to approves of this. It's been meetings for 5, 6, 7 years. I know it does. I mean, the damage it causes. A lot of questions asked. When the last putting in the corner, is it because going to be open? And the answer to that? Nobody knows. School material being put on. But it's going to be open. All right. How many? We got also find out how many agricultural applications he's put on now. The board. That's a interesting way. Well, farm equipment. We don't know. How many farmers on Gainesville Road are there? The land on Gainesville Road for farmers is lease or rent. The farmers that lease and rent them. So they're around here. I'd like to know how many times he applies, the rest of the material. Wouldn't be a bad idea to phone, maybe here on track or somebody. I don't know too many farmers. And I couldn't be wrong. That the rest of his material. I don't know too many farmers who drive their equipment. Down from Mexico, down from Canada. Have rest-proofing equipment, or rest-proofing product. But I'll tell you right now, this rest-proofing material is not good. I've put it on for years and years. I've sold it, I've imported it. I've trained people how to put it in. Everything's environmentally safe. Why doesn't the person applying it has to be arrested? And I agree. I'm not trying to hurt a business like that, but we have to find a lot more when you do the stuff. And it tracks. Do you all get pictures of the existing ground record, how it tracks in the road? Can the applicant guarantee that that's not going to happen? Yes.
Is there anyone who wants to add anything that we haven't heard about with respect to the application or? Okay. All right. So council, it's your turn to ask questions of the planner.
So, you know, we're available to answer any questions.
Yeah. So council, the regular questions of planning of the applicant. Any concerns? Yeah, I'll start with you, Councillor Arts.
Through your madam, excuse me, Madam Mayor, this will be to Dan. The condition, one of the conditions to approve this is detailed site plan control. Maybe you should explain what this is. That also an environmental subject, just the process or what it would cover. Thank you.
Yes, through the chair, members of the committee, so the site plan control process generally would review the safe operations of a particular property. So it looks at everything from stormwater controls, sanitary controls, access controls, leaching, hazardous potential materials. It could look at an EIS requirement, which would be an environmental impact study. But more so in our particular cases, usually you're looking at mitigating any potential risk to the natural environment, mitigating any potential safety hazards. We've had comments about traffic concerns, whether rough band or median tapering would be required. Those types of things all get reviewed in the site plan control process. So again, there's engineers involved in that process. There's architects that would be involved. Fire safety gets involved. Building gets involved. So it is from our perspective, an intensive review of the safe operations within the property for use. What we're really talking about tonight is whether or not the extension of the existing use is considered to be in line with what the permitted uses are today. So, that site plan process is there as the catch-all to make sure the business operates safely within our standards. And the second thing that it also does is it requires the applicant to enter into an agreement that says we guarantee that we will do these things, safe operations, and we'll have in instances like own grit separators that are put in place. So any runoff that comes off the vehicles that are parked outside goes into a storm catch basin and then goes into an own grit separator before it leaves the site. So those are the types of things that occur through that detailed engineering review process. Certainly understand the applicant's perspective. Obviously, we would have a different perspective on that. But if I can answer any more questions about that, please let me know.
No, you're done. Sorry. Councillor, do you have that on? Okay. All right. I saw your hand next, Councillor Shipley. Go ahead. Who asked the question? Go ahead.
So I just wanted to, this is just a comment. I'm a patron of the Crown Trust on Malagale, or Crown West. I'm now, and we've always had good service. But that's a good point. I think this particular type of business belongs in the industrial park where it is currently, and not on Gainsborough Road in an agricultural area.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. A couple of comments. So I think I'm glad to see the site plan information provided, because that's what I was thinking about, a lot of these concerns, that it would be addressed at that point. I think that, because I had a long list of things, I did read everybody's input and made a lot of notes, but again, they'll be looked after in the site plan. I think that it's good to clarify something here, is that this property is already zoned for this long list of things, and as has already been brought up, it is for the farm. And when you read Dan's report, I think in a nutshell, other than the site plan, we see it's farm industrial for automotive sales service. So what they're asking for is to interpret the motor vehicle part of the farm equipment sales. Excuse me. Thank you. Good answer. The farm equipment sales and service. So we could bring in 30 tractors a day, in and out tomorrow. They just want to be able to have this interpreted to add in with a few of those maybe pickup trucks or other vehicles. So you're still going to have the same 30 going through it. I think the advantage of this is that there will be a site plan and that the things will be looked at that are of your concern. I also wanted to point out that, sometimes council, or as a councillor, you'll have people, I can't think of an example, but people will say, or the mayor, you talked about this earlier, or somebody might say, you need to bring a doctor, you need to get this kind of business. It's the property is zoned for a specific list of things, and the businesses come to them. So it's not for council to say, we don't want to allow that to be there when it meets the zoning requirement, if I've said that correctly. So again, it's just adding in the vehicles, not just tractors, is what I think Dan's report clearly says, and that I think we need to be reminded of. Thank you.
Did you want to speak, Councillor Bruce? No? Okay, go ahead. Done? Okay, well then there's, oh, sorry, go ahead, Councillor Shipley.
Thank you for the moment, Dan. Dan, just a little clarification. When you refer to farm vehicles, are we referring to trucks that are farm plated also? Or strictly tractors?
Yeah, so through the chair, what I would say is I would go back to what the actual definition is for farm equipment sales and service. To me, any farm vehicle could be interpreted as a farm vehicle, whether it be a pickup truck, a tractor, a side by side, an ATV, whatever it is. Those would all be considered farm vehicles if they're classified as such under the bylaw.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, then we can move on. Okay, so the motion before us is that minor variance application A5 2024 filed by William Paul on behalf of DK Holdings Incorporated to permit a motor vehicle service establishment in association with the farm vehicle sales and service establishment for property legally described as part of Lot 31, Concession 3, Municipality Middlesex Center, known as 1830 Gainsborough Road, be granted, subject to the following conditions: that the motor vehicle service establishment use shall only permit servicing of vehicles outside on site specific to undercoating, and that no other servicing be permitted, and that the owner enter into a site plan agreement for the intensification of use of that property. And further, that the reasons for granting the minor variance application A5 2024 include that the request complies with the general intent and purpose of Middlesex Center's official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature and it represents appropriate development on the subject property. If I could have a mover, please, and a seconder. Councillor Heffernan and Deputy Mayor Brennan. I'll call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. All right, moving on to 8.3.
I'm gonna take a break.
Oh,
people leave.
Okay. Yeah, we can take 2 minutes if people want to leave. Well, I mean, you're welcome to stay, of course. But if you'd like to go, you can take a minute. More items here. 8.3 is another minor variance application and the file is Dan's. If you'd like to present the report, Dan, on that one. Too. We're just still there leaving. Yeah, we can move on. We've got a bunch more to go yet. Yeah. And then we have 2 public meetings after that. Okay. Louder. Okay. Should we wait? Yeah, okay, we can go ahead. Yeah, move quorum. Go ahead, Dan. It's 8.3 now, right? Okay.
Yeah, so through the chairs. Let me just grab these. So through the chair, application minor variance 8.3, which is an application filed by Steve Flanagan. So in this particular case, council may recall, this application was brought before council in January for a property that's located at 24089 Bear Creek Road. The application was deferred based on wishes to maintain the accessory structure on the north half of the land as opposed to the south half as previously required as part of conditions. They have amended the proposal to reduce the size of the structure to 162.5 square meters and to place the structure in the front yard as previously approved by council. They've also increased the setback to the neighboring parcel to the north, in this particular instance by 10 meters. The revised application was circulated in accordance with the Planning Act. Staff did not receive any concerns from internal agencies, internal departments or external agencies. I did happen to receive a comment from the St. Clair Regional Conservation Authority. They did note that a portion of the land was regulated. However, the proposed location of the structure is outside of that regulated area. So to that end, they did not express any concerns with the application. I did receive a letter also from neighboring landowners, noting that an objection to the proposal does exist. The objection is based off concerns that the applicant would operate their occupation in the format of a heavy-duty mechanic shop from the accessory structure. So I have reviewed the application against the protests of the Planning Act. I do generally find that it does meet the intent. I have also included conditions to help mitigate any potential concerns of the neighbors, and those being number one, that the accessory building be located in the same general location as shown on the plans. Number two, that the accessory building be set back a minimum of 10 meters from the north interior side yard. And then finally, number three, that the accessory building shall be used for such uses as permitted in the zoning bylaw. I know it's not explicitly stated, but just for everyone's information, the zoning bylaw does not permit any type of business to operate from an accessory structure. So that would inherently limit the opportunity for an individual to have a business within that building. So subject to these conditions, approval of application A24/2023. So thank you, and I can certainly answer any questions, Councilman.
Okay, thank you. That report, Dan. Is the applicant here and wishing to speak? If you'd like to, Mr. Flanagan? Yeah, if you'd like to make some comments, go ahead.
Thank you for saying that. I'm the applicant of 24089 Bear Creek Road. I was here in September for a potential building. After that, we get to discuss it with the neighbor, in which I was to shrink the footprint of the building and potentially apply it to the south. But I did that in the fall and over the winter time. I just didn't find it was feasible being so close to my well, propane tank, and to remove the trees to abide by the second variance, which was the interior property line being, I think at that time was 1.5 meters, which is now, I believe, down to 0.5 meters. I think it went through. I was in discussion last fall amongst the council. Okay. So in doing that, I feel it'd be more feasible to have it to the north at the same footprint, where I would not require a second laneway, all the alterations to my well, propane tanks, and the trees. My intent is not to perturb the neighbors of any sorts. I know I have the farmland to the south of me, which kind of veered me away from applying it and further to the south. I would like to keep it to the north, where I still follow the bylaws. I think a little better than being so close to the property line to the drain field to the south. Thank
Thank you for that. Is there anyone here in the public who'd like to speak to this application? Yeah.
in front of me.
Through the chair, I can confirm that there was no revised notice for this one or no revised notice to be issued, and the notice was issued to all property owners within the subject area being the 60 meters. If I may, I believe the speaker may be referring to a staff report. So following when a notice is sent out in the mail in advance of a meeting, at least 10 days in advance, a staff report is then prepared, placed on our agenda and placed on our website. That's where you can see additional information about what's being proposed, a site sketch of the proposal and all of the details. The notice which goes out simply advises individuals that yes, there is going to be a hearing and where you can go to learn more information. So
I have no understanding at this time where he's planning on putting this building. According to this, it would be to the south and in front of the house, adjacent to our property line. But now he's talking about going north again, so I don't know where that is. I'm not sure how to place my questions or comments. Like, is there any diagram of where he's looking to put it? Because there's a couple of stakes on the front lawn, and I was going to inquire as to what he represented, but.
Okay, I'll just ask the clerk if it's possible to put up the maps or the document from the package. And I guess your specific concern about where it's located, what would you be concerned about? That would be something maybe that council would like to know.
Yeah, if I could see where it is, then I'd know whether I have concerns.
It's right there. Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure there was a sketch with the original one last fall either.
What a comment on it.
Madam Mayor, Wendy, if you come off the Bear Creek Road, you're standing on the laneway looking at the house. It'll be on the left-hand side. No, sorry. It'll be on the right-hand side. It'll be on the right-hand side. Up. It starts right where the back end of it will start basically where the front of the house comes toward. Yeah,
Okay, so
it's not on your side.
So the application as it is right now is to be next to the other, just for information. We own the farmlands. I grew up in the house, both the house that Steve has, his home, and I grew up in the neighbor's home. So I'm well aware of these properties. And just in conversation, not understanding where you're talking about, because it seems to be fluid and changing. If it's to the north, at the moment, I don't believe I have any questions or comments to that. We were circulated in the fall when this was originally brought forward, and it was to the north. We weren't available at the time to come, but at this time, we have no comments, concerns, or questions. Good, okay, that's good. That helps me have a picture. Yeah, and it had not, it would help with the application. Okay. So are there any other members of the public who would like to speak to this? Okay, go.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I know you guys had a long day. Thanks for hearing me out here. My name is Tyler Buckland. We're neighbors to the north. My wife and I are here tonight to express our frustration with this application. I understand this is going to be a little uncomfortable for us. But we understand that this is a critical moment in this process, and we want to make sure that our voices are heard. If you recall, in September, we submitted an objection letter, and I just like to circle through that briefly, kind of as a refresher for everybody to outline our concerns. So first concern number one would be the size. This time around, the footprint we're seeing is 1,750 square feet. That doesn't really tell the whole story. If you pull up the blueprints, you'll get a better picture The wall height is about 16 feet. And overall structure height is 23 feet. There's a 14-foot tall and 20-foot wide overhead door. We aren't showing the finished floor, but we'll assume we'll bring the land up another 3 to 4 feet. That means a full height of 26 to 27 feet straight up when standing in our laneway. Number 2 is the location. In the front yard, this will be directly across from our living room. The structure will tower over our home. It will be a drastic change to the character of our property, and it will block the winter sunlight from entering our south-facing windows. Number 3 was transparency. Now, we understand this can't be a business because legally it can't be a business. I understand that. If it does get built, though, it's there forever. Maybe there's the odd cash job now, or maybe one day down the line there's another application. Maybe that will be submitted by Mr. Flanagan, or maybe that will be submitted by somebody else. Who knows? Not me. What we do expect is that this structure will be suited for heavy-duty trucks and equipment, and it will be used for the temporary storage and maintenance of other people's stuff. Steve told me this last fall. A farm tractor and a dump truck were the first 2 pieces lined up. Now, we know this is going to be an argument. Please bear with me. I know this industry. I work in it too. I'm not overly familiar with Steve, but from what I gather, he's a talented mechanic, which is hard to find. He's got a reputation. He's well connected in the community. We know this, and we know it's not crazy to think that if the shop gets built, the next time the phone rings, it won't be sure I'll be right over. It'll be sure, why don't you bring it over? And this leads us right into number 4, which is noise and disruption. You could say, Buckland, you should be used to loud noises. I am used to trucks. I am used to heavy equipment. I'm around it every day. I've been my whole life. I do not want to come home to it. My wife is not used to it. Sarah is sensitive. And the best way I can describe that is when the engine shuts off or the vibration and the banging stops, it doesn't just go away. It causes stress. It has a negative effect on sleep and health. That's just the way it is. This proposal is 65 unobstructed feet from our bedroom. This is our home, and we can't help but feeling threatened by this. Protecting the peace on our property is a big deal. Number 5 was environmental. Again, more of what we were already talking about. The Conservation Authority wouldn't mind a shed. They might mind a shop. And then the last one, number 6, was property value. It was hard to move. It took us over 4 years. We looked at 100 homes, and we didn't offer on any of them until the creek, and we got smoked by another bidder. Somehow, by a twist of fate, it came back to us a year later. That's a story maybe for another time, but here we are. Are we mortgaged to the ears? Yes, we are. Are we thrilled to be out there? Absolutely. Peace and quiet was our top priority. Nowadays, it's harder to sell. Our real estate agent says that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But a large shop like this would impact some buyers. It would have impacted us. I know that Steve will be frustrated to hear this. If this shop was standing there when we saw our home for the first time, we probably would not have been interested. I think that we're all frustrated, clearly. It's not that we think it's too big or too tall or in the front yard or the big equipment. It's everything all put together. We've spent a lot of time boiling this down. Can only think of one suggestion for your consideration. The south side construction has already been granted, and that's fine. You can build whatever you want, do whatever you want. We won't bother you. We gave you a word on that. It's fine. We understand there's some added cost associated with building over there, and we're going to pitch in some gravel to help. Typically, if there's a will, there's a way. For the north side, we'd like to request a strict enforcement of the personal storage shed description, and not by expecting us to call the bylaw anytime a dump truck rolls down the laneway, because that is a nightmare. Could we limit the height? Possibly. Standard residential garage has 8-foot walls and a 7-foot door. Something like that would be okay. Remove the temptation to bring in the big stuff. And it should still be ample for anything we've ever seen parked in the lane. Pickup trucks, lawnmowers, maybe a trailer, fine by us. Anything beyond that just doesn't seem right. Thank you for your time.
Is anyone else wishing to speak to this? Okay, in that case, I will turn now to council. Questions, comments? I'll start with you, councillors.
Question through you, Mayor, is to Dan. Are any further comments based on what you've heard from the public? Dan, or are you just sticking with your report as written?
Yeah, so through the chair, I can't provide recommendations based on a potential for something to occur, but my recommendation has to be based on an actual review of what's being requested against the Planning Act tests. I don't necessarily foresee an issue should this building be used as the bylaw permits. I would note the maximum height in this particular zone is 21.3 feet. Just, having a sidebar with the chief building official here, this proposal does seem to meet that requirement for height. I would also note that the maximum height for a dome on one of these structures is 11.5 feet. This particular dome may be larger than that, but with that said, that requirement would get caught at the building permit stage, so it would limit the potential as to what could go into the structure. And the intent really there is to ensure that it is used for residential use, right? But yeah, from my perspective, from the planning perspective, from the review of the against the planning act test, I don't think there's anything that would change my opinion.
Thanks, Dan.
Anyone else? Councillor Hepburn?
This question is actually for Steve. What exactly do you plan to do in that building? It's called for personal use, but it is a fairly large building. What exactly is the purpose?
I won't deny it, I am a mechanic and I help out the local community with equipment, trucks, whatever, but I can count on one hand the number of pieces of equipment that's actually stayed in my laneway for any length of time. Never had a noise complaint directed towards me in the 20+ years that I've been there. Just from talking to previous people who have put up buildings, they always regret. I wish it did something different with this or change this or change that. I'm just trying to cover all my bases where I will not regret something at a later date.
So basically, it's not necessarily for personal storage or anything like that.
I do have hobbies and I have side by sides, 4-wheelers, all that stuff, which I would like to store and maintain in my own building. I mean, I kind of see it being a mechanic, it kind of be forced for me to not be able to fix my own stuff and have to take it to a dealership, right?
Anyone else? Oh, okay. In that case, there is a motion from a motion before us. Here we are. That minor variance application A44 2023 filed by Steve Flanagan for relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit an accessory building in the front yard and permit an overall maximum size of 162.6 square meters for the legal description for 24089 Bear Creek Road be granted subject to the conditions that the accessory building was located in the same general location as shown on the plans, that the accessory building be a setback minimum of 10 meters from the north interior side yard, and that the accessory building should only be used for such permitted in the zoning bylaw. And further, that the reasons for granting the minor variance application A24 2023 is that it complies with the general intent and purpose of Middlesex Center's official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw. It is minor in nature and the request represents appropriate development on the property. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Oh, pardon me, mover and seconder. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Cates. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Okay. Number 8.4 now. 8.4 is minor variance application. Excuse me. So Dan, A1 2024, the floor shows when you're ready.
That's through the chair. Thanks, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So application 8.4 was minor variance A1/2024. And the purpose and effect of this particular application for variance is to seek relief from Middlesex Center's comprehensive zoning bylaw as it does relate to the maximum lot coverage requirements, as well as the height and the location of an accessory building in the front yard for a proposed accessory structure in the Hamlet residential first density or HR1 zone. The applicant is proposing to construct an accessory building to the side in front of the existing dwelling, whereas the bylaw does not permit residential accessory structures in the front yard. They're also proposing to construct a building with a maximum size of 142 square meters, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum size of 60 square meters. And they're requesting a maximum height of 7.6 meters, whereas the bylaw permits a maximum height of 6 meters. The effect of the variance is to permit the construction of a larger accessory structure, which does encroach into the front yard setback. In this particular case, the subject lands residential lot, which is located in the hamlet of Denfield. It is municipally addressed 23830 Denfield Road. Planning staff have reviewed this variance against the Planning Act tests. While the property is limited, given the existing easement to the rear, general variances are not considered minor when one necessitates the issuance of another. So in this particular case, the size of the structure as proposed is necessitating a variance to locate the structure in the front yard. As such, planning staff do not consider the variance minor in nature and does recommend denial of the variance. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Is the applicant wishing to speak to this? No. Oh. Okay, so if that person's not here, is there anyone who would like to speak to this, members of the public? Okay, seeing none. I will look to council then. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, moving right along, we have a motion before us that the minor variance application A14 2023 filed by Luke Oslisio for relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to establish a maximum size 142.69 square meters for all accessory buildings, permit the construction in the front yard, and increase the maximum permitted height to 7.6 meters for a property municipally known as 2383 Denfield Road be denied. And the reasons for that are that the request does not comply with the general intent and purpose of Middlesex Center's official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw. The request is not minor in nature and it is not considered appropriate development for the subject property. The mover, please, in a second. Councillor Bruce, Councillor Heffernan, all in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and 8.5, the floor is yours when you're ready, Dan.
So through the chair and members of the committee, 8.5 on the agenda tonight is application for minor variance A3/2024. So the purpose and effect of this variance is to seek relief from the comprehensive zoning bylaw as it does relate to the maximum permitted height for an accessory building in the restricted agriculture or A2 zone. In this case, the applicant is proposing to construct an accessory building with an overall height of 9.7 meters or 31.8 feet, whereas the bylaw does not permit a residential accessory structure to exceed the height of 6.5 meters. And again, the effect of the variance is to permit the construction of a 2-story accessory structure. In this particular case, the subject lands are located in the agricultural area surrounded by large rural residential lots. It is bounded by residential development to the east and west and agricultural lands to the north and south. Maintains a frontage of approximately 7.3 meters along the and an area of approximately 5.6 acres. It is designated agriculture in the county official plan and Middlesex Center's official plan, and it's zone restricted agriculture in Middlesex Center's comprehensive zoning bylaw. The lands are regulated by the Thames River Conservation Authority and are identified as a natural heritage feature and significant woodland in the Middlesex Natural Heritage System study. So planning staff have reviewed the application against the Planning Act test for a variance. Staff are satisfied that the request in this particular case is considered minor in nature and it does meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw. It is considered an appropriate use of the lands. And that boils down to the fact that the effect of the variance is considered minor across when you look at the adjacent properties. As such, planning staff are recommending approval subject to the conditions that are listed in the report, and that is generally that the accessory building be placed in the same general location as shown on the plan. And this is specific to the regulation of the land, so it's regulated and it's also protected through the Middlesex Natural Heritage System study. So the location that was shown is kind of out of that area. We just don't want it to move somewhere else where it would then encroach into that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Is the applicant here? Would you like to speak to the application? Yep. Okay, floor is yours.
Happy with exactly what it's planned. The only reason it got a little bit too tall is because my house has a 12 pitch on the roof and we wanted to kind of match cosmetically. So that's really what it was. So yeah, that's really it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak to this application? Is seeing no one? No, okay, so committee, are there any questions of the applicant or comments? No? Okay, I did have one. I think there's in the general construction notes, it talks about smoke alarms, it mentions a bathroom but the description said hobby space. Is this going to be like a secondary or additional residence or unit or?
No.
Those are miscellaneous notes. I thought, well, maybe this came from the people who did the.
I think originally I was going to put a name inside of like this is back in 2018 when it originally was designed, but you know, they live in my basement now, so.
Okay.
It doesn't help. Thank you.
John.
I've always spent the money on that, so thank you.
Oh, I read it upstairs. Okay, thanks for that. There are no questions, and so we have a motion that minor variance application A3 2024 filed by Nathan Seaman on behalf of James Cook for the relief of the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to establish a maximum height for an accessory building of 9.7 meters for a property municipally known as 11484 Miller Road be granted, subject to the following conditions: that the accessory building be located in the same general location as shown in the drawings, and that the reasons for granting the variance include that it complies with the general intent and purpose of our Middlesex official plan and comprehensive zoning bylaw. The request is minor in nature, and the request represents appropriate development on the subject property. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Shipley and Councillor Arts, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Moving on to public meetings. So now we have to move out of the Committee of Adjustments. So the motion before us is that the Committee of Adjustment adjourns at 7:13 p.m. Council resume the regular session, and that the council move into public meetings at 7:14 p.m. pursuant to the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended, to consider applications listed on this evening's council agenda. So I'll just run through this quickly. It's basically the same. Members of the public who wish to receive further notification of any applications being considered tonight, I ask that you please send an email to planning@middlesexcenter.ca requesting further notification. Please be advised that comments expressed and written material presented are a matter of public record. If you have questions on the applications being heard this evening, please direct those to the appropriate planner on file. Members of the public that have requested to speak will be given a maximum time of 5 minutes, right? Just checking. To address council and provide comments on the applications in keeping with our procedural bylaw and our zone policy. I would remind all participants to use respectful language and to uphold the values of cooperation, trust, and openness. And the order of proceedings is basically the same. I'll ask the planner to explain the application and to give the report, and then we'll ask the applicant if they'd like to make comments on their application. Anyone here in the public who'd like to speak would be next. Then I'm going to ask council for any questions and so forth, and then we'll consider the application and make the motions. So starting off with number 9.1, this is on New Ontario Road, and the file is again Dan's. So Dan, you can take it away.
Through the chair, thanks, Madam Mayor and members of council. So, item 9.1 on the agenda tonight is consent application B2/2024, and that's for 24538 New Ontario Road. So the purpose and effect of this consent application is to sever a farm residence on a lot with a frontage of approximately 100 meters on New Ontario Road and of approximately 1.43 acres. The retained farm road would maintain a frontage of approximately 571 and 3/4 meters on New Ontario Road in an area of 52.85 acres. The applicant is proposing to maintain the single attached dwelling as well as the shed and associated services on the severed lands. And the remnant land, or in this case, the farm parcel, would be maintained as farmland in crop production as well as forested lands. The subject lands are located on the northeast side of New Ontario, which is northeast of the intersection of New Ontario and Quebec. It is municipally addressed 24538 New Ontario Road. And the lands are zoned agricultural A1, and they are designated agricultural in both the county and town municipal official plans. They are partially regulated by the St. Clair Region Conservation Authority, the Asylum Bayfield Conservation Authority. Portions of the lands are considered hazard lands due to their location in proximity to a wetland that does exist on site. Staff have reviewed the proposal against the requirements for the surplus dwelling severances in the official plans. The applicant does meet the requirements of the official plans as it relates to the age of the structure, the status of the dwelling, and they have qualified as existing farmers with a home farm in additional dwelling. I do note that the portion of lands that is subject to consent are considered hazard lands as part of the Conservation Authority. Given the existing policy context, generally speaking, severances are not permitted within hazard areas. However, exceptions can be made when there is limited to that particular hazard. To that end, staff note that there's no additional dwellings that are being proposed in this particular situation. It is existing, and also staff have included a recommendation to include a condition that would require a development assessment report to satisfy and ensure no negative impacts to the wetland. Given the above, staff are recommending approval of the consent, again, subject to the conditions that have been outlined in the planning report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Are there any members here of the public who'd like to speak to this application? I don't see any hands. Council, are there any questions or concerns? Yes, go ahead. Councilor Arts.
Through your Madam Mayor to Dan, this is probably might be to the applicant also. Due to the area this building's in, I'm all for the settlements, but there's pretty good chance whoever buys this property, if they come back and decide they need an accessory building, I'm pretty for sure it's going to get turned down due to the nature of where the building is. So it'd be kind of appreciative whoever buys it kind of knows there might be limitations going in. A lot of headaches maybe later. Thank you.
So I'm Rita Vanderhoover of Hillgrove Farm, who has requested the severance. And at the time that we bought the property, we also bought it with my daughter and son-in-law. So the farm, the house and property being severed will not be sold. It's just from a point of a farmer for succession planning. It's just much easier for me if this happens instead of leaving it for when I die. So we are very aware that nothing can be done. I've talked to the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Area. You know, even putting up a deck is a big deal. we are very aware that nothing can be built there and nothing can be changed. And we're very okay with that.
And the counselor is happy. There we go. Okay. If there's no other questions, so we can move on. All right, there is a motion before us that consent application B2 2024 filed by Rita Van der Rivel on behalf of Bill Grove Farms Limited in order to sever a resident surplus to a farm operation as a result of consolidation from a lot municipally known as 24538 New Ontario Road be granted. And there are 14 conditions, which are all in the staff report. And further, that the reasons for granting this application include that it's consistent with the provincial policy statement, it conforms to the County of Middlesex official plan and the Middlesex Centre official plan, and subject to the conditions, the proposal would comply with this Middlesex Centre comprehensive zoning bylaw. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Shipley and Councillor Brewers, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Now we have consent applications, or there are a whole bunch of them. They're all listed on the list, and this is Marion Cabal's file. When you're ready, you can give your report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you to the rest of council. So the purpose of this report is to provide council with a recommendation regarding consent applications for the property at 10181, 10207, 10215, and 10247 Ivan Drive. This property is located on the south side of Ivan Drive and northeast of Egremont Drive. So the purpose and effect of these three consent applications is to sever three residences surplus to a farm operation as a result of a farm consolidation. These residents are specifically 10181, 10207, and 10215. So the westernmost westernmost residences on this property. The first lot proposes a frontage of approximately 168 feet and an area of approximately 1.06 acres. The second lot proposes a frontage of 158 feet and an area of 1.03 acres. And the third proposes a frontage of approximately 150 feet and an area of 1 acre. The retained parcel would maintain a broken frontage of approximately 1,500 feet on Ivan Drive and an area of approximately 55.3 acres. This retained parcel will also contain the fourth existing single detached dwelling, which is known as 10247 Ivan Drive. Additionally, the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the severed lands from agriculture to a new site-specific surplus residence zone. This is specifically to recognize the existing residential use and establish a minimum front yard setback of 10 meters for those existing buildings. The amendment would also rezone the retained land to a new site-specific agricultural zone to recognize the agricultural parcel size of 55 acres, which is less than the standard 100, and as well recognize that existing residential use. So again, the subject land currently contains 4 single detached dwellings and detached accessory structures. The lands are serviced by private services in the form of septic and well, and the applicant has advised that that there is a single well that is currently shared between 2 residences on this property. The property is also surrounded by agricultural lands in production. So notice of this application has been circulated to agencies, property owners in accordance with the Planning Act. Leading up to this public meeting, staff did not receive any comments or questions from members of the public. Staff reviewed this application and provided standard conditions related to the removal of agricultural uses from the severed lands if they do exist. And St. Clair Region Conservation Authority advised that a portion of the subject lands are regulated. However, none of the severed parcels are within this regulated area. As the landowner for the retained parcel were to ever promote any or to request any new development or site alteration, they will need permission from the CA. So staff reviewed this application against all relevant local and provincial policy. While this is an unusual circumstance to have 4 residential uses on a property, planning staff are satisfied that the criteria for the severance for surplus farm residents has been met or can be appropriately addressed through conditions for consent. Further, the requested zone for the retained parcel is site-specific A1 zone to reflect that undersized agricultural parcel as well as the existing dwelling on the property. Staff are satisfied that this requested zoning is to maintain that minimum size and also prohibit new residential development within that A1 zone, and that is consistent with the applicable policies. Therefore, staff recommend approval of consent application B24/2023, subject to 13 conditions, and consent applications B25 and B26/2023, subject to 14 conditions, as noted in the staff report. The extra condition is related to the share well. Staff also recommends approval of the zoning bylaw amendment to the surplus residence zone for severed parcels and the agricultural zone for the retained parcel. For the reasons, the consent and the zoning bylaw amendment applications are consistent with the PPS and conform to the county and Middlesex Center official plan. So this opinion is provided prior to the public meeting and without the benefit of all comments or from agencies or members of the public. Should new information arise, council is advised to consider it when making a decision. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. We have one member of the public online on virtually here to speak to the application. They're here.
Good evening, Mayor DeVito and members of council. Can everyone hear me all right?
We can hear you. The floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Matt Lewinchuk. I'm a land use planner with Zelenka Priamo. And I'm here on behalf of the landowner for this consent and zoning bylaw amendment at 10247 Ivan Drive here. I first just want to thank staff for their presentation. We've had an opportunity to review the staff report as well as the conditions, and I just want to thank staff for their work on this file to date. We do acknowledge that the purpose of this public meeting is to hear from members of the public with respect to the proposed development. However, we have been notified that there has not been any public opposition to date. As staff mentioned, the purpose of these applications are to sever these 3 dwellings from the larger farm parcel on Ivan Drive. And we do acknowledge that staff are recommending approval in principle and for both the consent and zoning bylaw amendment. And we do look forward for a positive endorsement when this proposal comes to County Council. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillors, do you have questions or comments? We're sorry to skip members of the public. Very long. Is there anybody who would like to speak to this application? It will be waiting for your turn all evening, haven't you? Okay, the floor is yours when you're ready.
No, it's just a quick question and observation. Grant and Paul. Chairman. Why wouldn't you fill in this little lot between part 1 and part 2 when you're doing it? And I don't know, that's a question for Matt. And
Okay, sure. Thank you to the member of the public. Between part 1 and part 2, I believe those are the 2 the most western parcels that are proposed to be severed. So that is agricultural land, and when we do review agricultural severances, we try to limit the amount of agricultural land that is lost to development. So that's why we would not promote any infill between those 2 parcels.
Yeah, well, that I just thought it was something that it's pretty hard to farm a little piece stabbed into a little between 2 houses. And yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay. All right, now we're to Councilor Deputy Mayor Brennan.
Chair Marion. It says in the report that the one road that's servicing P lot has been disconnected from the one property. So that means that one part is going to go in the well. Not as a septic system contained only on each lot. So that's what the proposal is.
Yes, that's correct. They would have to have their own separate servicing.
for the summer parcel. And Councillor Arts?
Here, Madam Mayor, Marion, I noticed that part 2 and part 3, I don't know if it's my drawing, but the back line fence has a little jog in it. And farmers like straight lines, so personally, I wish part 3 was the same depth as part 2, just. I know it's being nitpicking, but it would end, and then any future disputes, everybody knows that their line fences are the same, so you don't get into the argument of, is mine supposed to be this way, is mine supposed, like, it would just clean things up a bit better. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see, and did you want to speak to that, Marion? No, it's okay.
Sorry, no, I don't have any further comment, but perhaps the applicant's consultants might be able to speak to that of why there is the jog.
So, we can go ahead then with the motion. We're not. Oh, he'll come back, okay. He may know the answer to that, perhaps.
Hi, my name is John Janicek. I'm actually the
Yeah.
I just want to say, I've no problem with the lines being just over here to make a straight line. I prefer that also. Even the extra piece of land is, like, reserve the again, I agree with Mr. McComb here. For environmental purposes, it would also be nice too, but that's a discussion, stuff like that. So I appreciate everything that everybody's done. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the clarifications. And that's on the line now too, okay. Now, if you want to comment, go ahead.
Yeah, in response to the comment with respect to the that one property line in part 3, which being extended a bit further than that in part 2, the client had identified that these two are to have the same lot area, so that's what we went ahead and did. However, we can certainly have this adjusted before we finalize this reference plan and go back to the drawing board and adjust it as necessary.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay. Okay, the councillor is fine. Okay. If there's nothing else, then we do have a motion before us. It's quite lengthy. It's in front of you. I will ask for removal, please. Deputy Mayor Brennan and Councillor Bruce, thank you. All in favor of that? And that is carried. Okay, so now we can rise from public meetings. The motion before us is that the public meetings adjourn at 7:32 p.m. and we resume the regular meeting. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Cates and Councillor Heffernan, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. We have no notices of motion. We have a number of correspondence items. Is there any question? Seeing none. Oh. Right, through you, Madam Mayor, is 12.2. Yes, is that one in the motion? No, I don't think so. It's a minor variance. Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, that's the minor variance. So thank you for, okay. So we do have a number of items here. There's a motion before us. That the correspondence items 12.1 through 12.7 be received as information. Mover, thank you, Councillor Bruce, Councillor Deputy Mayor Brennan, thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. I will look to the Deputy Mayor now for a County Council update.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. County budget will be coming to a vote on March 26th at the county at a 5.51% increase this year, which relates to a $23.77 increase in taxes per 100,000 on a property. Total expenses in the county is actually $168,332,000. $1 million in the city social services, due to lower costs in social services and transportation, so that will be coming back to the county. The county at present is starting to look into a charge system for the county. They're gonna look into that and see how that's feasible. The South Central Ontario Regional Economic organization that we've done a number with for a number of years, and we pay yearly. We don't feel like getting benefit for the money we're paying with that, so we had to give a 1 year notice that we were withdrawing from that. So we have done that. We've given our notice to it, and then we'll be withdrawing from that in a year. We passed budget guidelines along with the 184,000. A paint company, this is paint that's used to paint the roads over 2 year period, $703,000. Gas meters in the road for 2 years, 81,000. Chemical supply for subdrains of 86,000. Concrete curbs for 289,000. Cold waste recycling 1.3 million. Next, 5,883,000. Green screen contract with $2,000 across the county that rotates through the county, certain areas will be done. Through April, March to April. There's a new rapid transit train on trips from Dorchester to Roden tomorrow. Another spot on for trip to one and 2 morning trips and 2 in the afternoon. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, thank you for that update. So the next item up is there any other business councillors would like to raise? I see none. Then we can move on to the bylaws. The motion before us is that bylaw 2024-2022. Oh, 22. Yeah, so it's not, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And that we confirm the bylaws 2024-19, yeah, this part we can skip. In accordance with the OLT decision on lead cases number OLT 23, number 163. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Heffernan, Councillor Arts, all in favor? Thank you, that's carried. And the last thing, council meeting for Middlesex Centre adjourns at 7:37 p.m. Councillor Burris, Deputy Mayor Brennan, thank you, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, everyone.